All right, let's discuss Loom scripts today. I've made quite a lot of Loom scripts and pretty much almost always they work. I've got a very specific framework for making Loom scripts. If you're sending cold Looms and you're not getting replies or appointments, you need to make sure you watch this video in full because it will help you, right? Watch the whole thing because I'm going to give you lots of strategies throughout this whole thing towards the beginning and the end, so it's pretty cool. So I don't know how many Looms I've sent, but I've sent fucking hundreds of thousands of them probably, and I've probably had clients send hundreds of thousands as well. I'm very good at making Looms, very good at recording them, very good at scripting them, and in today's video I'm going to walk you through my process for scripting a Loom and the rules I follow. Now, I'm not going to be giving you a script, right? If you want like a copy and pastable monkey see, monkey do script, please click off the video because you're not welcome, right? This is like going to be a framework based video. I'm going to give you a skeleton and you're going to flesh it out yourself. I'm going to teach you to think, not copy and paste, right? Because if you copy and paste, then you're just going to be stuck for the rest of your life. My name's Charlie Morgan. I've built and scaled 2 companies predominantly through cold Looms. Our marketing agency, NorthFlow Consulting, we scaled to 7 figures. A lot of that was with Looms. We sold that business. An Imperium Agency is our second company. It's a coaching business that does multi-7 figures. We only sell high ticket stuff. So we've used cold Loom to, I don't know how much money we've made with Loom, probably over $1 million through cold email alone in the last 4 years. So I know a thing or two about writing scripts for Looms and I'm really excited to make this video. I've been putting it off for about 18 months since I started the channel and we're gonna hop in. So I'm actually gonna hop into Miro and sort of introduce this to you. If you haven't watched the last video I uploaded, pause this video and go and watch that one now. It's more important than this one. So I made it, this is sort of like a second part of a 2-part video series on cold Looms. This is one of the most requested videos I've had, but if you watch this without watching the first one, it won't matter if you watch this or not because the first one's more important, if that makes sense. So go and find the video I uploaded a few days ago and watch that because it's more important. But let's actually talk about Looms and how to script them. I love Loom and I really like writing scripts and frameworks and stuff. So I'm gonna hop into Miro. I don't really have a plan or a structure for this video, but I'm just gonna off the top of my head reel out the most important things. Let's hop into it. Alrighty, so you should be salivating by now with anticipation of how to make a cold Loom script. I'm going to lay it all out for you because people do this so wrong. So I want to try and help you. Right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is constraints. There's 2 constraints that you need to bear in mind when making Looms, and they both revolve around the time of the Loom. So what I find, the first and most important lesson to learn here is it's not about what you say, it's about what you don't say that matters. 99% of people overfill their Loom with bullshit, right? Shit they don't need to say, shit they don't need to even talk about, and stuff the prospect doesn't care about, never will and never has and will never reply to you for. So the first thing you need to do is put constraints on yourself and the time. What I mean is time against 2 different things, right? The first one is the actual length of the Loom, right? And the second one is time spent talking about yourself and your company, right? So you never ever want your Looms to extend beyond 2 minutes. Ever, right? As soon as you put this constraint into place, right, what's going to happen is your brain's going to start to optimize for making it short and sweet. And actually, you're going to have to force yourself to cut shit out of your Loom that does not need to be in there. Think about it, right? Someone who doesn't know you, who has no idea who you are, who's never talked to you before and has just received a cold email, is not going to sit through a 10-minute video of you talking about yourself and your service. They just won't, right? They might do, but they probably won't. You don't want your Loom to be this vehicle for adding value or explaining. It needs to be a 1 minute and 30 second, to the point, punchy, attractive, vague thing that they're like, whoa, what the fuck is this? I need to understand this a little bit more. Do not go beyond 2 minutes. If you go beyond 2 minutes, your Looms, there's honestly, I could say 1 minute, but 2 minutes is pretty strict as it is. So if you feel like you need to say more things beyond 2 minutes, then you need to seriously critically think about your ability to understand what you need to say and what's important and what isn't. And then the second thing is you want to spend significantly less time talking about yourself, right? So let's have a think about this here. So what are we looking at? Okay, so in terms of yourself, you don't want to spend more than 24 seconds. Now that's not specific, but 24 seconds is basically 20% of 120 seconds, if that makes sense. So you don't want to spend more than 20% of the time talking about yourself. So you want to spend 80% of the time talking about the prospect, right? And their problems and the solutions. And you want to spend 20% of your time talking about you, right? The biggest mistake people make is making the Loom about themselves and not about the prospect or the client. The more you use words like I and we in your Loom, the worse your results will get. The more words you use along the lines of you and like, well, that's really just it, you, right? You guys, for example, the better it gets. Imagine if you watch this YouTube channel and I spent 80% of my time just talking about myself and how great I am. You'd be pissed off, right? Sometimes I do that. Bear with me, but you get my point. So this is the first and most important lesson to learn of Loom scripting. A 2-minute length, nothing more than 20% of the time talking about yourself, 80% of the time on the prospect. The more you focus on the prospect and the more you talk about them and their problems and demonstrating you actually understand their problems and resonate with them, the more like they'll feel inclined and naturally responsive to the text and the actual speech that you're using in your script, okay? So that's the most important thing is time. Because when you have a Loom that's 2 minutes long, it forces you to remove things that you don't need to add. And when you can't spend more than 25 seconds talking about yourself, it forces you to condense information about you and your company into the most like narrow form possible, because you have to realize the person you're making the Loom for does not give two shits about you or your company. They will want to know if they can trust you and have confidence in your ability to deliver. But I've listened to Looms before where people go into like 2-minute long rants about like, they're like, oh, so our team's this and we've got this many years of experience and we offer this and this and we've been doing this and we won this award. Doesn't matter. Fucking bullshit, right? Cut it down into a 24-second statement, if not 12 seconds, right? I was going to say 10% because that's what I would do. But I realized that a lot of people struggle condensing things down. So like 20% is fine. Now let's actually talk about the structure, because the first thing to understand is the time constraint. People are not going to people you send cold emails to are not going to sit through a 10-minute video. They just won't. They're busy business owners. They're in their email. They've got multiple tabs open. They've got problems to solve. They've got a to-do list to fill, and you've just interrupted them with a video. You better get to the fucking point. So that's rule number 1, is get to the point, right? Now, what is the point, right? What does this actually look like? Point. The point is the offer and the why, right? The why is basically the problem you can solve, and the offer is like how you actually package up your solution. So it's the guarantee or it's the risk reversal that you're offering, right? You need to get to this point immediately, right? If you start your Loom and you spend the first 24 seconds talking about yourself, you'll lose them. The first, couple of seconds of the Loom need to basically look like this, right? So you've got an introduction to you, right? And what I mean by this, to you, is literally, hey, it's Charlie, right? That's it. Like, hey, it's Charlie. You don't say which company you're calling from or anything like that. You say, hey, it's Charlie, and then you say the reason, right? Now, what I don't want you guys to do here is copy this exactly, because you need to use different words to describe different things. If everyone starts their Loom saying, hey, it's me, I'm making this video because, then you'll be losing, because everyone's going to start doing that. So critically think and don't rely on, copying and pasting. Start thinking about what can you replace with like the reason, like the why. I mean, do you want to replace it, but like what words can you use? So you start with the introduction, then the reason. The reason gets to the point. So the reason is why you're making the video, right? You're making the video to introduce them to something awesome, right? And you say something awesome. You hook them. You say, I've got something for you that's going to make you a shitload of money in a very, very small amount of time, right? Or I'm making this video to introduce you to something that's going to completely blow you away. Or I'm sending this video to you because I want to tell you about something that you are going to love, right? Some sort of statement of extreme vagueness and assumption, right? So the key here is assumption, right? And vague, right? So you're not going to tell them, I'm recording this video to tell you about my Facebook ad service. No, don't be a fucking idiot. It doesn't work, right? Assumption and vagueness are the two secrets here. I'm assuming you're going to fall in love and, love me until the end of the earth because of what I'm about to tell you. And it's amazing, right? So you're wrapping, what you're doing here is you're wrapping what you do in this weird, like vague, assumptive aura that they're going to love it, right? And you sound confident in that. You don't want to sound cocky like, oh yeah, mate, you're going to love this. It's going to be the best thing you've ever seen. And then you tell them that you have a Facebook ads retainer and you've got no clients, right? Don't be an idiot, right? But you want to be vague and assumptive. And the reason I'm making this video is to introduce you to something, and you are going to love it. And I'm really excited to make the video, right? And then you want a connective, right? Right? This is where you say like, but, or and, like, or so, or a word like that then leads on to your second point in this process. So I'm making this video for you because I've got something I think you're going to absolutely love, but it's not a fit for everyone. I don't know if it's going to be for you or not, but I figure there's no harm in reaching out. Or the reason I'm making this video is because I think I've got something you're going to love, blah, 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 blah. And we found that it only works for a very specific type of person. I want to make sure that's you. So if what I say resonates, it might be the right fit. So we want some sort of like connective to what we would then call what would you call it? Like potential disqualifier, right? Because, if you say this is for everyone, it works for everyone, it gives you less credence and less believability and gives the person less confidence you can actually deliver results, right? So you want to basically sort of say to them, I've got this amazing thing. I don't know if it's going to be able to help you yet. Or, I've got this amazing thing, so I want to explain it, but there's a chance that it won't help you. But I figured that, hell, like even if there's a 10% chance it will, you need to hear about it, right? So that's how I start my looms, right? This doesn't take more than 10, 15 seconds to make, basically. What we then do from here on is we've hooked them, right? Now what we need to do is get the offer, right? The offer is like, if you don't know how to make good sales arguments, you're kind of fucked, but that's a story for another day. The offer is where like you explain the thing you do without explaining how you do it. You explain that you can do it. So the offer is where you start explaining the benefits of your service and the outcomes you produce and help them accomplish. And then you explain how the risk is reversed. If you haven't got a risk reversal guarantee, pay on results, commission-based offer, in this day and age, you will not generate appointments through cold email. You just won't, period, right? So if you're not willing to put your skin in the game and like actually take risks working for clients, then it ain't going to work, because this day and age, you need a strong offer, right? So the offer is next. And what you're doing with the offer is you're sort of listing out really 3 key benefits, right? Or outcomes to working with you. These should be unique to you. I'm not going to tell you what to say because you need to figure it out yourself. 3 key benefits or outcomes. And then off the back of that, you talk to them about your risk reversal, right? Now notice, I'm not talking to them about Facebook ads. I'm not telling them about my UGC content. I'm not talking about email marketing. I'm not telling them about my funnels. Hang on, I'm just going to pull my curtain a second here. Sorry, looked like I had some sort of skin disease temporarily. I'm not going to edit this video because it takes too long. Anyway, that's just a full transparency for you. Why would I need to edit me pulling the curtain, right? So the offer is important. 3 key points: outcomes, risk reversal. You keep this outcome and future focused, right? You focus on, like, you should know what they want, and you should know what problems they're facing. You should know what resonates with them, and you should know like what they want and like why they want to grow their business and what outcome they want to have as a result of that. So like if I'm with gyms, for example, I might be talking about helping them grow to multiple locations, or I might be talking about giving them so many members they can finally hire an operations manager so they don't have to run the gym, right? Things like that, little niche knows and nuances that your niche deeply craves and wants is what you should be including in your offer and how you can deliver it. So once I've talked about the offer, I will then talk about myself. Right? So this is where I'll basically spend 15 to 20 seconds explaining the company and what we do. And I'll sort of explain, like, I won't really explain like what we do in terms of the service we provide. I never explain the service or how we actually accomplish the results and the outcomes. The reason I do that is intentional, because like you want to wrap your entire Loom script with one thing, right? And that is curiosity. Oh my God, what is that? Fucking hell. Right, let's try that again. I'm getting way too excited here. Curiosity, right? Curiosity and incentive, right? So I can't seem to, anyway, incentive. Right, curiosity is where you explain that you can do something for them, but you don't really tell them how. And then what the prospect will do is they'll reply to you and be like, oh, please tell me, like, how does this work? Or I'm not quite sure I understand how it works, or you didn't really tell me much about your service. These are the replies we want, because we leverage that curiosity to get them to schedule a meeting. Like, hey John, I'm sorry I didn't quite clear things up for you completely. It's kind of a lot to run through on an email. Do you mind if we schedule a demo? You can leave your card at home. No sales call, I promise. Right? We leverage those curious replies onto appointments. We want the prospect to leave the Loom a little bit confused about what we do, and that state of confusion leads them to ask us questions, and we leverage those questions and Aikido and Judo them so that we can actually get the prospect on the call. I'd love to answer those questions if you've got 15 minutes tomorrow, right? Then the incentive. The incentive is like why they should reply to you in the first place. Throughout the entire Loom, you need to be focusing on incentives, right? Outcomes, results, desires, solutions, constantly linking back to what you can do for them, how you can help them, like what benefits you provide, how they'll feel, like always looping back to the good things about that would come of them working with you constantly, right? The more you do this, the more replies you'll get, because people will reply because they're curious about what you do, and they're incentivized to do so because part of them thinks you might be able to solve a problem for them or alleviate some pain from their life. So then I'll talk about myself for a short while, just explaining the company, why I started it, and then maybe our mission, but even that's not very important, and why you started it isn't very important. But you need to give them some sort of indication as to who you are and why they should trust you. So the main thing here is trust, right? Why should this person trust you to reply to you? Think about that for a second. Why should someone trust your company, right? So you can do that, right? So for example, for me, it's easy. I was once an agency owner. It really sucked to acquire clients. So I started a company to solve that problem for other people. And I scaled my agency to 7 figures. Here's a Stripe screenshot, right? For that, it's easy. People can trust that. But for you need to think about that. Then what I'll do is I'll sort of wrap up the Loom. So I've done a brief introduction. Most of the time is spent talking about the offer and like understanding, like, look, I know you've probably got these problems. I've got these solutions for you. I know that when you have these problems, this happens and that makes you feel this way. And by solving it, you'd probably face this thing. And that is what the offer is about. Like, this is the vague part I'm going to leave you with so you can play with it on your own. But the offer should really be the bulk of the Loom. Like, you kind of want like this thing here should really be like, like 10 to 15% of the Loom. This here should be, as we know, 10 to 20% of the Loom. And then, what have we got? This here should be like, 50% of the Loom, like the offer part where you talk about them. And then the final part is where you wrap it up, right? And this should take about like, 20%. And the way you wrap it up is where you say things along the lines of like, listen, I know this, like, well, how would you position it? Like off the top of my head, you'd say like, listen, this Loom, I recorded it for you. I think this is going to be one amazing thing for you. I think you're going to love it. Then you go back to the incentives and you go back to this sort of assumptive, vague reasoning you did at the beginning. And then you sort of say, listen, like I said, it's not going to be for everyone, but there's a chance. We've checked out your brand and we think it is going to be for you. We're not 100% sure, but we'd like to figure out if that is the truth. Let's schedule an appointment to get it scheduled in. You can leave your card at home. You always want to wrap up the Loom. Like, I don't want to try and sell you something. I don't want to try and press you into buying something. Like, you need to make them feel safe to schedule a meeting, because all of these business owners have scheduled meetings with people that have sent them Looms, and almost every time that sales call has been a horrible experience for them, right? So you want to wrap it up like, listen, I don't want to put you on a spot and get you to buy something. I don't want to press you into like some sort of like, instant decision. I don't even want a decision from you on the call. All I want to do is explore your problems and see if you qualify for the offer that we have on the table here. That's it. You can leave your card at home. Hell, put your card in the freezer before you actually schedule the meeting, right? Just giving them like safety and comfort, because otherwise, like, people are like, oh, well, like, if you think it might be a good fit for you, let's schedule a meeting where, if you bring all the decision makers, we would expect an immediate decision. Like, fuck off. Like, don't be an idiot, right? So that's really the structure of the Loom. Like, it's not rocket science. The main thing is like the constraints, right? The constraints of like how much time you have to actually make the Loom, and then how long you talk about yourself for. Because when you have these constraints, you kind of get this, like, I've learned this over the last like 5 years in business. Like, constraints are pretty cool because it forces you to be more simple and efficient. So like, the key is just get to the fucking point. Get to the point and tell them like what you can do for them and why they should trust you to do it. That's it, really. Don't talk about case study. Well, you can talk about case studies. There's another thing, like, you shouldn't just use this. I want you to model off of this. So if you think you should include case studies, include case studies. If there's something about your company that's unique and you want to add that, add that. If you want to remove something, remove something. Just use this as more of a skeleton. Don't just like lean on it and do it completely. Don't look at this and be like, okay, so Charlie says to have an introduction, a reason, and then like a connective to a disqualifier, and then the offer, and then talk about myself for a bit, and then wrap it up. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I don't want you to do that. I want you to add your own stuff in, because I tell you now, if you do this on the screen, it'll work for a while, but if everyone does what you're doing now, which is what everybody almost always does, it won't work. So if you want to protect yourself from what's called the tragedy of the commons in systems thinking, which is where everyone does the same thing and it stops working, then make it unique to yourself, right? Add your own personality to it, because that's what it's all about. So that's everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. That's everything from me. I'd like you to comment any video ideas you have below. Please do subscribe and like if you did enjoy the video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.